Welcome back to Saturday Agenda. The past several weeks ultimately led to the former president, Trump, being charged with 34 felony counts of business fraud. And now, when the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Ohio Jim Jordan, wanted to investigate how the Manhattan DA got to that point, he himself was served with a lawsuit. DA Alvin Bragg called the committee's efforts, quote, an unprecedented, brazen and unconstitutional attack on the ongoing investigation. Well, let's get more analysis from our legal panel who joins us. We have distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum, along with constitutional law attorney, former prosecutor, and Newsmax contributor Amir Benno. And let's not forget Tom Borelli, who will be with us throughout the show again. It was just a brief moment yesterday at the NRA's annual meeting where Congressman Jim Jordan actually responded to that lawsuit. Let's take a listen to this.
It is crazy to use federal tax dollars to indict a former president for no crime, and then when we try to investigate, to take us to court. But that is exactly what happened this last week.
All right, let's get right into this. Amir, I want to kick it off with you. What Bragg is saying essentially in this 50-page lawsuit is, Congress, you don't have a role to play here. And we're going to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of that. But I want to get your reaction to perhaps how unprecedented this move is by the Manhattan District Attorney, and what you would say to counter that argument that Congress doesn't have a role to play here.
It's not only unprecedented to move to quash a subpoena. It is unprecedented, but for federal oversight of a DA or the federal government to sort of intrude on this. But really what happened here is the Democrats did this to themselves when they were seeking Donald Trump's tax returns back in 2020, and they claimed that they needed it for some valid legislative purpose. This is 3 different House committees. Of course, there was no legislative purpose. It was just a pretext. It was for a political hit job. They wanted to dig up dirt on Donald Trump. And now they're sort of reaping what they sowed, and Jim Jordan's the shoe's on the other foot, and Jim Jordan is seeking to get answers from Alvin Bragg. There is an oversight role because they did get federal money. But at the end of the day, this has always been worked out in the political process. And really, the Democrats, unfortunately, they don't have a real right to complain. They brought it on themselves.
Yeah. Thane, it was interesting. Obviously, the lawsuit was asking a federal judge to block those congressional subpoenas. There was a lot of interest around the testimony and deposition from one of the former attorneys that worked with Bragg that had, again, been part of the whole pursuit of this investigation and had been wanting to push for charges. We're talking about Mark Pomerantz. So he wanted the federal judge to block Pomerantz from giving testimony, but Pomerantz essentially published all of the inner workings of his Trump investigation and communications in a tell-all book. So talk to me about the legality of sort of pursuing to block that congressional subpoena when a lot of your deposition or testimony is already out there.
So Kilmeny, once again, you're onto something. You always are. It's a really good point. If you're Bragg, you do not want Mark Pomerantz testifying. He would be a disaster. Why? Because he looked at the Stormy Daniels case and said, this is ridiculous. Who would bring this? Who would bring the porn star case with the falsification of business records when the Federal Election Commission already said that this does not constitute an undisclosed campaign donation, where you can't rely on federal law because you're a state prosecutor? Why would you want to bring that? So if you want to embarrass the Manhattan DA's office, you bring in the guy who resigned because the case that he had prepared wasn't going to be brought. And instead, the case that he thought was ridiculous was the one that would be brought. And let me just add to what Amir just said. Jordan said something that he should have expanded on, is this should not be taken lightly. You have charged, for the first time in American history, an American president with a crime. It's never happened before. So this alone, let's stop for a second. You charged an American president with a crime for a very low-level crime that's out of your jurisdiction because it requires federal law. And it's a crime that would be very hard for you to prove since hush money, non-disclosure agreements are perfectly legal. So, of course, we're going to look into this. The whole world is watching this case, and we want to know what's its origins. Why would you bring it?
Tom, this is only going to escalate because next week what's going to happen is the House Judiciary Committee is going to hold a field hearing in Manhattan, Bragg's own backyard, to examine how his policies have impacted crime in New York City. So talk to me about the political warfare happening right now between, again, the all-powerful chairman of the House Judiciary Committee and the Manhattan DA.
Kilmeny, great question. I'm actually very excited about this. For once, Republicans are going on offense. When Democrats had the House, this is exactly what they do. Jordan is taking it to Manhattan and exposing the crime that's going on in Manhattan, the number of felonies that were downgraded to misdemeanors, I think 50-something% under Bragg's watch or rule, so you say. So this is very important, and I'm glad they're doing it. At the end of the day, this is a battle of public relations. They're battling for the hearts and minds of the American people. Democrats are full attack on Trump to destroy his character, and now Republicans are going to hold Bragg accountable. As Thane said, this is a real lousy lawsuit, and this needs all to be surfaced.
All right, Amir Benno, Thane Rosenbaum, Tom Borelli, appreciate all of you gentlemen. Great discussion as always.
Thank you, Kilman.